Welcome back to Lecture Highlights for Economics, where we try to explain the most important key concepts in economics as quickly and simply as we possibly can using examples. So in this lecture highlight video, we'll be explaining what economists mean by demand in the supply and demand framework. And along the way, we'll be explaining some key terms like the law of demand, income effects, and substitution effects. We'll also show how the demand curve links right the way back to cost-benefit analysis, and do all of this using some really simple examples. Remember, if you're finding these lecture highlight videos useful, don't forget to comment on the videos with any questions or feedback that you might have, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel of Lecture Highlights to stay up to date with all the latest content to help you with learning economics. So let's start by thinking about what economists mean when they talk about the demand for a particular product from an individual consumer. So demand just means the quantity or the amount of a product that I'm able and willing to buy depending on the price over a particular time period. So this could be the quantity of chocolate bars I buy per week, per month, per year, depending on what the price of those chocolate bars actually are. So let's think about my individual demand for dairy milk chocolate bars per week. So I go to the supermarket, and depending on what the price is, that will impact the amount of those chocolate bars that I buy. So imagine that the price of dairy milk chocolate bars is £5. I'm not really wanting to spend that much, so I wouldn't buy any of the dairy milk chocolate bars at that price. My quantity would be zero. If the price was £4 for the dairy milk chocolate bar, I might buy one. If the price was £3, I might buy two. If the price is £2, I might buy 5 that week. And if the price is only £1, then I might think that's a really good deal. So I'd be able and willing to buy 10 units of that particular product. So this represents then this idea that the amount of the product that we buy will increase as the price in the market decreases. And we can use all of this information in a table and instead represent that using a simple graph, because it's generally much more convenient and easy to understand what's going on if instead of using a complicated Excel spreadsheet, we instead use a simple diagram. So what we've now got in the graph is we've got the price measured on the vertical axis, and we've got the quantity that I'm able and willing to buy as an individual per week measured on the horizontal axis. So if the price in the market is £5, the quantity is just zero. So you get that intercept on your y-axis at £5 where the quantity is zero. If the price falls to £4, then the quantity is 1. If the price goes down to £3, the quantity is 2. If the price goes down to £2, we said the quantity is 5. And if the price goes down to £1, then the quantity is 10. So what we've been able to do is take this relationship between the price and the quantity demanded and express that using a graph. And if we join all of these series of points together, this is what gives us our demand curve. So a demand curve just tells us the relationship between the price of the product in the market and the quantity demanded by an individual over a particular time period. So it's really important then that when you see a demand curve, you don't think of this as just a line, but instead what's happening is this is representing a series of data points which is matching the price in the market and the quantity demanded at that particular price. Now let's take a step back for a second and figure out where this demand data actually comes from. So we know from cost-benefit analysis that we should always buy more of a product if the marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. Because essentially, by giving up a certain amount of money for a product that I value more than the value of the money I'm giving up, it means I'm making myself better off. Alternatively, if the marginal benefit is less than my marginal cost, I don't want to buy another unit of the product because the extra cost that I have to pay for that product is higher than the extra benefit that I receive from having that product. So how does this link back to our demand curve? Well, behind these optimal quantities of the product that I'm willing to buy at every price then, is this optimization by a consumer based on the marginal benefit and the marginal cost. So suppose the price in this particular example is £3, and I optimally decide to buy 2 units of the product. That must mean that the marginal benefit of the first unit and the second unit of the dairy milk chocolate bars is at least larger than the marginal cost that I have to pay, which is the price of £3. But should I buy a third unit of the product? Well, if my optimal quantity was 2 when the price is £3, then it must mean that my marginal benefit of the third unit of this dairy milk chocolate bar is less than my marginal cost, so I shouldn't buy that. So really behind this data then, of this demand curve, is this optimization on behalf of the consumer, where they're buying more and more of a product only when my marginal benefit is greater than or equal to my marginal cost. Usually though, economists are not so interested in the individual demands of individual consumers. Instead, if I'm deciding how much of a product I need to produce, I need to make that decision on the basis of how much demand there is in the market, not the demand of individual consumers. So to get the entire market demand, all we need to do is add together all the individual demand curves of all the individual consumers. So to see how this works, let's go back to our example and add a second consumer into this table. So imagine this consumer likes chocolate a lot more than I do. So at a price of £5, they buy 5 units of the product. At a price of £4, they buy 8 units of the product. At a price of £3, they buy 15 units of the product. At a price of £2, they buy 18 units of the product. And at a price of £1, they buy 22 units of that product. Then imagine we add a third consumer into our table and look at their individual demand, but they don't really like chocolate very much at all. So at a price of £5 or £4, they don't buy any. At a price of £3, they buy 1 unit. At a price of £2, they buy 2 units. And at a price of £1, they buy 3 units of these chocolate bars per week. So we could do this for every single individual across the entire market. So we'd have all of these separate columns, and then we can get our market demand by taking each particular price and summing together all of the individual demands at that particular price to get our market demand at that price. So imagine then that we do this and we sum all of the individual demand values. So we're not just talking about 2 or 3 or 4 individuals, but everyone in the entire country or the entire region for that particular market. So suppose if the price is £5, then the total market demand or quantity demanded in the market is 100,000 units. If the price is £4, the total quantity demanded in the market is 400,000 units. If the price goes to £3, then the total quantity demanded in the market is 700,000 units. And if the price goes to £2, the total market quantity demanded is 1 million units. And if the price goes to £1, then the total quantity demanded across the entire market is 1.25 million units of dairy milk every single week. So this is how we go from individual demand to our market demand data. Now that we have all of this information then, on our individual demands and our market demand, we can draw our market demand curve. So it looks quite similar to the individual demand curve. We've got the price measured on the vertical axis, and we've got the market quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. So now all we need to do is introduce our data points for a price of £5, £4, £3, £2 and £1 using the data from that market quantity demanded column, and that will give us our market demand curve. So clearly what we can see is as the price in the market is increasing, the quantity demanded in the entire market is decreasing. The key point to emphasize as well is the distinction between demand and quantity demanded. So demand refers to the relationship between the price in the market and the quantity demanded, where the quantity demanded is measured on the horizontal axis of this graph. Generally then, the demand curve just captures the idea that as the price in the market increases, the quantity demanded of that particular product decreases. And this is known most generally as the law of demand. But what's really happening here can be understood by linking back to cost-benefit analysis. So as the price in the market is increasing, our marginal cost of that product is going up, and it makes it much, much less likely that the marginal benefit will be larger than my marginal cost for those units of the product that I want to buy. So all of us are reducing our consumption of chocolate bars as the price in the market is going up. But essentially, why is this happening? Well, the first reason is if the price of dairy milk chocolate bars increases, I'll generally swap to an alternative product. So I might decide to buy alternative brands of chocolate bars like Galaxy or Dairy Milk Caramel or any alternative product that I might want like ice cream or crisps because I don't want to pay the price that they're now charging for dairy milk. And this is what's referred to as the substitution effect. So the idea that as the price of one product in the market increases, we substitute towards products that are now relatively cheaper. The second reason as well is even if you're certain that you definitely want to buy this particular dairy milk product, the increase in the price of the product means that you can generally afford less. So if I've got £50 to spend and the price of a product is £1, then I can buy 50 units of that product. But if the price increases to £2, I can only afford to buy 25 units of the product. So what's really happened is even though my actual level of income is fixed at £50, the real value of my income in terms of the products that I can buy has now fallen from 50 units of the product to 25. So when we talk about real income, this is just the value of your income measured in terms of the products that you want to buy. So at a price of £1, my £50 income has a real value of income of 50 units of the product. But when the price goes to £2, the real value of my £50 income falls to 25 units of the product. So even if I really love the product and I don't want to substitute for an alternative, we still have what is referred to as an income effect because of the fall in the real value of my income.